¿Alguien?
Alrighty, welcome to the first episode of Bible Stories. I'm Jonas,
And I am Victor.
and we're going to be looking at Genesis chapter 1 and 2, the story of God creating the heavens and the earth.
And we will be reading this both in English and Spanish, so we can touch a vast majority of people.
Let's get started. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was shapeless and empty, and the Spirit of God hovered over the waters. God said, "Let there be light." God called the light day, and the darkness was called night. All this happened on the first day of creation.
En el principio, Dios creó los cielos y la tierra. La tierra estaba desordenada y vacía, y el Espíritu de Dios se movía sobre las aguas. Dios dijo, hágase la luz. Dios llamó a la luz día y a las tinieblas noche. Todo esto sucedió el primer día de la creación.
On the second day of creation, God created the sky and the clouds that were separated from the water underneath. God saw that his work was good.
En el segundo día de la creación, Dios creó el cielo y las nubes que se separaron de las aguas debajo. Dios vio que su obra era buena.
So there was already water. That's interesting.
And he just split them like that.
Yeah. On the third day, God ordered dry land to appear, and the waters were gathered into seas.
Al tercer día, Dios ordenó que apareciera tierra seca y las aguas se juntaron en mares.
Then God said, "Let the earth burst out with every sort of grass and seed-bearing plant, and fruit trees with seeds inside the fruit."
Entonces Dios dijo, que la tierra brote con toda clase de hierba y plantas que den semillas, y árboles frutales con semillas dentro de la fruta.
Everything God said took place. All kinds of grass, plants, and trees grew with their own seeds to grow more.
Todo lo que Dios dijo sucedió. Todo tipo de hierbas, plantas y árboles crecieron con sus propias semillas para crecer más.
God saw all the plants growing and declared it was good.
Dios vio crecer todas las plantas y declaró que era bueno.
All good so far.
So you notice how everything got, all the vegetation grew, everything grew, and there was at that point still no need for man.
Yep, not yet. Let's see. On the fourth day of creation, God set the sun, moon, and stars in place. Day and night and seasons and years came into being. God was pleased and saw that it was good.
En el cuarto día de la creación, Dios puso el sol, la luna y las estrellas en su lugar. Vinieron a ser el día y la noche, las estaciones y los años. Dios se complació y vio que era bueno.
All this in the span of a single day.
Just splitting, creating stars and everything.
On the fifth day of creation, God said, "Let the sea be full of fish, and let birds fly in the sky." God blessed them and told them to give birth to their young and increase in numbers. Once again, God saw that what he had created was good.
En el quinto día de la creación, Dios dijo, que el mar se llene de peces y que los pájaros vuelen por el cielo. Dios los bendijo y les dijo que dieran a luz a sus crías y aumentaran en número. Una vez más, Dios vio que lo que había creado era bueno.
On the sixth day of creation, God said, "Let the land have many species of living creatures."
En el sexto día de la creación, Dios dijo, que la tierra tenga muchas especies de seres vivientes.
God created cattle and reptiles and wildlife of every kind.
Dios creó ganado, reptiles y vida silvestre de todo tipo.
God created all kinds of species of wild animals and cattle and reptiles, and he was pleased with his creation.
Dios creó todo tipo de especies de animales salvajes, ganado y reptiles. Estaba complacido con su creación.
And now here's the good part. Then God said, "Let us make man in our image to be the master of all life upon the earth, skies, and the seas." God formed a man from the dust of the ground and breathed life into his nostrils. The man became a living being.
Entonces Dios dijo, hagamos el hombre a nuestra imagen para que sea el amo de toda la vida sobre la tierra, los cielos y los mares. Dios formó a un hombre de polvo de la tierra y sopló en su nariz aliento de vida. El hombre se convirtió en un ser vivo.
From dust to dust.
Yes, sir.
God named him Adam and put him in a garden he had planted in Eden. Adam worked and looked after the garden.
Dios lo llamó Adán y lo puso en el jardín que había plantado en el Edén. Adán trabajó y cuidó del jardín.
Adam could eat of any of the fruit growing in the garden.
Adán podía comer de cualquiera de las frutas que crecían en el jardín.
Any of the fruit. However, in the middle of the garden were two special trees. One was called the tree of life,
Sin embargo, en medio del jardín había dos árboles especiales. Uno se llamaba árbol de la vida
and the other was a tree giving knowledge of good and evil. God told Adam, "You can eat the fruit of any tree except the tree giving knowledge of good and evil. To disobey and eat this fruit will result in death." God brought the animals to Adam so he could name them.
Dios le trajo los animales a Adán para que pudieran ponerles nombres.
Adam gave names to all the animals.
Adán les dio nombres a todos los animales.
I wonder why God didn't do it.
I was going to say, I don't remember reading that God had Adam name all the animals.
That's weird, right?
Yeah.
And that was you.
I read that.
And for reference, you can go to that on Genesis chapter 2, verse 20.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that's where he tells them that, to name all the animals.
Because God made Adam master of all life upon the earth.
Right,
Right.
right. So in that way, he was showing humility because he could have done it himself.
Right?
Interesting. Then the Lord said, "It is not good for the man to be alone. I will make a helper for him."
Entonces el Señor dijo, no es bueno que el hombre esté solo, le haré una ayuda.
And it's interesting too, in chapter 2, this is mentioned before it mentions God creating animals and Adam naming them. So it's kind of implied in chapter 2 that it was, the animals were made as seeking a helper for Adam. But the animals were made before Adam. We see this in chapter 1 of Genesis. The animals were made before Adam, just like we're seeing here in the story. God caused Adam then to fall into a deep sleep.
Dios hizo que Adán cayera en un sueño profundo.
God brought the woman to Adam. Adam said, "She is part of my own bone and flesh. Her name is woman because she was taken out of a man." This explains why a man leaves his father and mother and is joined to his wife in such a way that the two become one.
Dios trajo a la mujer a Adán y dijo, ella es parte de mi propia carne y hueso. Su nombre es mujer porque fue sacada de un hombre. Esto explica por qué un hombre deja a su padre y a su madre y se une a su esposa de tal manera que los dos se vuelven uno.
So God made her out of a rib, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. What verse was that? Do you have it?
I do not have it.
But it's in Genesis 2, I think. That's when it says. And then, now although the man and his wife were both naked, neither of them was embarrassed or ashamed.
Ahora bien, aunque el hombre y su esposa estaban ambos desnudos, ninguno de los dos estaba cohibido ni avergonzado.
God looked over all that he had made, and it was excellent in every way. This ended the 6th day. On the 7th day God rested. God blessed the 7th day and declared it holy, because it was when he ceased his work of creation.
Dios miró todo lo que había hecho y fue excelente en todos los sentidos. Eso terminó el 6º día. En el 7º día Dios descansó. Dios bendijo el 7º día y lo declaró santo, porque fue cuando cesó su obra, la creación. It's amazing how all this happened.
It is.
In 6 days.
And it's interesting too, some people don't like to say that it's 6 days like we see it. Well, days could be whatever God wants them to be, right? They could be thousands of years
Right,
for us.
he doesn't have the same lapse of time that we have.
Could be.
Right?
But then why does he specify the morning or evening or these specific times of each day? That's interesting.
How he chose to find a way to split it, right? To give us that understanding of different days.
Yeah.
And I like the different segments where the plants and the trees come first,
Mm.
and then the birds and the fish, because the birds eat the plants and the fish have the algae or whatever they have in the sea.
Right.
So everything's set, and then the animals feed on the plants, and it just goes on, and then
Yeah.
it's more animals, then it's man who, so it's sort of,
But there's a trap in there.
Uh-oh.
You're almost. It's almost following the exact. What would that be called? The food chain.
Right?
But what do plants eat? Or what do they use for energy? They use the sun,
the sunlight. Yeah.
which was created after the plants.
Oh, good point.
So how
Yeah.
would they have survived thousands of years if it were a day, not a day like us, but thousands of years? That's interesting.
And that also shows the power of God, because
Yes.
even though science will tell us, hey, you know, you need the plant needs this, but I don't think those same rules apply
Sure.
to God's demand.
And this was the Garden of Eden, right? Who knows?
Right?
In the chapter 2 also has a mention about não tinha chovido ainda.
Oh yes, there wasn't. It hadn't rained yet. The mist came up from the ground.
Yes.
That was chapter 2.
So
We missed that
the
here, yeah.
seeds, the plants,
So that's how they were getting that
Yeah.
people,
receiving
right? Because they need
just
water.
from the
Oh.
So maybe there was some kind of other light source other than the sun.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the way he splits everything too, you know, he creates the oceans and the skies, and then creates the land, and then if you notice, he puts the birds and the fish first.
Mhm.
You know, kind of going in order as to how he created it. He started filling it.
feeling. Yeah. Good observation.
There's an order to it.
There is an order to it, and this was the first story in Spanish. Dios crea los cielos y la tierra.
Dios creó los cielos y la tierra.
Genesis 1 and chapter 1, 2.
Chapter 1 and 2. Hope you guys enjoyed it.
Yeah.
See you in chapter 2, or episode 2 of Bible Stories.
which would take place in chapter 3.